Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reds channel. This is my buddy Russ Miller. Russ is responsible for me getting started tight line nymphing. We're gonna fish a little bit today. He's gonna offer some tips, and we'll give you a minute to do your formal introduction here in a second, so people know that you know what you're talking about.
That's right.
And there's going to be a podcast too. So I would recommend go find the Men Fly Fishing podcast and then listen to the one with Russ and I, because there's going to be a lot of good information on it. We're going to go fishing. Russ is going to offer some tips, and we're going to try to catch some trout.
Hey guys, Russ with Umpqua Feather Merchants. I have been on the U.S. national team for 12 years. Used to be, not on there currently. All the young guns have taken over and picked up where we left off. But I still fish this method a ton. Spend a lot of time behind the rods, and we're going to cover some of the how-tos with this and just have some fun out here fishing. Hey, so we're here on the Yakima, and a cool piece of water that's new to me, and especially new to me at these flows. And we're just going to talk about kind of approaching the water as a general first step. And this applies to anyone's fishing, right? Whether you're going to fish dries, indicator, obviously the tight line rig. But approaching the water, I think, is something that folks overlook, especially it can really limit the number of fish you end up with in a day. I remember learning from some of those European teams, Martin Droz, like 4-time world champion. The first cast he always makes when he approaches new water is a downstream cast, right? Because the fish are facing upstream. If you go busting out into the river, chances are you're going to limit the number of fish that are even going to be sitting in their lies to see your flies, right? So the first thing we want to do is just not limit the number of fish that we're going to do. Whether you throw a downstream cast or not, totally up to you, but really coming out and around the A water here. And I like to try to think of my water in terms of the number of times you've caught fish in different types of water, right? It's a confidence thing. So A water to me means when I look at something, I'm very confident that there'll be a fish there. Even if the fish counts in the river are super low, super high, whatever, that's the stuff that I walk up to, dry fly, nymph, tight line, that you're just like, that is where they live, right? That stuff that gets you excited to put a fly into. I call that A water. And identifying A water to me is super important because it's gonna kind of plot my course of how I work up to that A water, right? I don't want to just charge into it kind of cold and throw flies in there and hope for the best. I want to start with my C and my B water as I progress up to that A water, meaning that when I get in there, my casts are great, my drifts are right, I have my fly weight dialed, my depth dialed, and so I make the most of the opportunity of the best water when approaching it. And again, it doesn't matter method. What matters is how you start to identify and approach those different pieces of water. And even in your head, you don't have to tell your buddies like, oh, I'm starting with the seawater, but you can literally in your high, like, I'll start down there. There's maybe going to be a fish. B water, there ought to be one or two. A water, I am very confident that that's where they live. And so that's how I start to break this up. And so with that, I'm going to identify that main bucket over here as my A. And just a nice gentle run kind of works back B to C down here. So I'm going to plan my approach down towards the C and work right up into that baby. All right, you're good.
All right, first hookup. I can't believe I beat Russ to it. I switched flies. We fished for all of about 5 minutes, then we both changed flies. That's not much patience. But I just had a hunch, and I'm curious to see if I got the fish, because I had been over that water and it ate one of the same flies that I had on. Yeah, just I think it's called a picky eater perdigon. And but it ate the same fly I had on, but I had been over that water numerous times. But I switched up my top fly to a much lighter fly, and I got to think maybe my balance changed, or maybe not having two bead heads rolling through there maybe made the difference, because I put on a really teeny tiny little beta nymph, and I think maybe just a little less flash, a little bit more stealth help, because I had probably put 10 casts over that area, but there was a nice fish there the whole time. So maybe a little balance change ended up just mixing up. So rather than hike into new water or do anything dramatic, just a very subtle change resulted in an immediate hookup on that fish. All right. Well, I thought I had a lunker rainbow, but I've got a lunker whitefish. And poor Russ came all the way down here This thing was pulling, and I'm on really light tippet, so I was kind of letting it go. But man, this is, look at that thing. Dude, I've even got finger drag going on. This may be a new PR, Whitey. I'm just so glad that we get to document this. I will say I did make a change that I think, and Russ and I are going to talk about this on the podcast. I really want you to listen to it because I've got so many questions for him with all of his experience. Come on. Yeah. God, that thing is freaking fat. That's a bent rod right there. Oh. Okay, one more time. We're gonna bring him downstream. Dude, that thing's gotta weigh 2 pounds. That thing is, dude, it's got 2 chins. 2 chins on that thing. Oh my gosh. Hey, I will say I did something that was kind of liberating. I was getting a little bit of spin. I have 2 flies on, like traditional tight line rig, and I just went to a single fly. I just went to a single Perdigon, and I was able to downsize a little bit. Russ was just kind of talking earlier just about the difference between like when you start to get finer and finer in tippet and how much better it fishes. But I just ended up going to a single Perdigon, and it was just kind of nice being able to cast it and fish it because I was getting a little bit of spin up in my tippet. So if you're at that stage in tight line nymphing where you're getting a lot of spins and twists, or you're just like you're frustrated with it, don't be afraid to just fish a single fly. I'll have Russ kind of unpack that later because he's got far more experience than me. But I have the camera in my bag, so Russ has been catching them upstream from me, but I haven't been willing to run up there. But maybe if Russ gets a giant whitey, I'll scramble upstream, help him out. Thank you, Russ, for your live audio.
So boulders are awesome structure. I always feel like trout thrive on change, right? Changes in depth, changes in water speed, changes in temperature, all that kind of stuff. That is a major change in the middle of the river right there, right? And so typically I like to think of these little trout magnet opportunities, but a boulder this size and that heavy a current makes for some interesting opportunity, right? We've got water that I can see that's moving upstream, right? In that big eddy. You've got water that's completely still, and then it kind of comes together here. So you just got to really break up your approach to the big boulders. Fishing that slick down below when all the current reforms is a really great spot. And then as you get in here with the tight line rig, what's really cool is being able to hold that line out, which we'll get into here, and fish it back upstream, or just let it sit completely still in that dead water right behind the rock. And all of those are very good options to be able to break down and fish this stuff. So we had a bite in here. I'm gonna see if I can get another one, and we'll work up into that heavy stuff. So with these rocks, really the beauty of this tight line rig is being able to hold it out into that current and really fish that effectively, right? And fish the right side, fish the left side. I've got really heavy current right in front of me that I can use the length of this rod to hold right out there and fish in this nice quiet water in the middle. This doesn't feel as deep as it looks. Now that I've got some flies in there, finding a lot of bottom. There's fish. Put that one.
Nice. That fish was sitting right in those boils.
Right in those boils, right on the far side. Come here, little guy. Damn, these Yakima River rainbows are just, every one of them is so full of energy here. On the little. Joe's got me turned on to the micro stuff here.
Itty bitties.
That's why they keep coming off so easy sometimes too. I'd rather get the bite than not.
Hey, will you talk real quick? I mean, I'm watching you fish this swirly ass water, right?
Yep.
Will you talk about, for people that don't fish this style that might be watching, just understanding how tight lining is an advantage in those types of boils and swirls?
Yeah, Joe mentioned the single fly earlier, and if there was a place for a single fly, this is exactly textbook it. Dude, we are getting, folks, they are getting smaller.
Dinky dink.
But this is truly the place for single fly, right? Even with 2 flies, you're gonna have this one that might get caught in one current and this one that gets caught in the other, and they can work against each other really quickly. Single fly, right? You've got everything there, but if you're a fishing indicator, you've got your tapered leader, which is going to get pulled. You've got maybe 2 flies on there, which are going to get pulled. So it's going to exacerbate all of the issues you're going to have with getting a drag-free drift and holding it in these really small margins where this water is. There's clearly fish in there, right? We're hooking some. But the tight line rig allows you to, A, reach over the current in front of you versus sitting there and mending, trying to hold it. But more importantly, right, you can just get right on top of it and fish those flies in those really thin margins in order to hook fish on a size 18.
Good release.
But yeah, that's where the advantage of the tight line rig in these kind of scenarios. And when the wind's not blowing, you know, we're really fishing our indicator line. Right now it's completely taut. It means my flies are directly underneath it. But when I go upstream, which is my favorite way to hook them, you can see that belly of that line, and I'm literally just gonna watch that belly, and you're gonna see the bites before you're gonna feel them most of the time. And you'll see that belly just kick up, and that means the fish is eating those flies. All right, let's see if we can get out just a little further. So there's a couple fish without moving our feet, which is nice. We'll come down this far side. That current's a little evener. You can see it's about a foot flat. Oh man, did you see that one, Joe?
Yeah, that was a good bite.
That was a great bite. You can see that, like, it's like an 8-inch wide slot.
Good bite there.
That fishes well. If I fish on the other side, it's going to get swept. If I fish on this side, it's going to boil. But right in here, you just got this perfect little window by which to...
Was that like a little just check that you did there?
I did.
Or are you agitating the fly for action?
I just checked my flies because I felt the bottom. So rather than pull them all the way out of the zone, you can just give it a good little check. I do love jigging flies like that. We were fishing the lower Gunnison River and fishing a bunch of riffles, and I've never jigged so hard. The harder I jigged, the better the bite got. So there's a time where that jigging technique and really, you know, putting it in there and really aggressively, you know, popping those flies down through the run can literally be the reason your flies get bit and stand out for those fish. I haven't caught anything on the bottom fly. It's maybe too big. Joe's got me on the small stuff. But one of the things I always do, you can see I just push the rod away from me. And the whole idea here is to add a bunch of slack to it so this top dropper stays in the water here. You can see that? And I tuck the rod low, and I want this to be down by the water so that when I pop this fly off, the tension of the water is taking everything away from me. I'm facing downstream on purpose. And that is so that when I tie on a new fly, nothing is getting wrapped around this mono. Can be annoying, right, and frustrating. And I like to either tuck it between my legs or tuck it under my arm like this. But the idea is I use the water tension to keep it away from me. You can see that nymph spinning around there a little bit. Here, you know, just keeping that dropper away from my rod. This is the part of everyone's day that no one likes, is re-rigging. So again, I'm done rigging now. You can see I don't drop it when it's here. I literally move it away from me to drop it. And that way it just swings below me. I can pick up the rod and make a cast right away.
Hey, I'm gonna add to the tip that Russ just gave, because that is really profound. All of us, even Russ and I that do a lot of this kind of fishing, we hate tangles, we hate, you know, changing. light mono or light fluorocarbon tippet, whatever is different. Having a good plan, whether it's current tension or if I was changing the top fly, I know it's hard to see on video, if not impossible, the top fly or your anchor fly. If you put your anchor fly in the water and then I could change this top one, that's a really great way to keep it organized. Once I get slack in a 2-fly rig up here in my hands, we're not superhuman. We do dumb stuff too, people. But developing a little system for those fly changes or how you handle 2 flies, and Russ's simple tip about just reaching flies out to get them away from your body in current is really good. But regardless of which fly you're changing and how you do it, just come up with a little system that works for you, because it can be an exercise in both misery and frustration. But I think over the years, we don't develop these efficient habits by accident. You find a blueprint, and then you stick with it for all that little stuff, and it makes you much more efficient on the water. Totally.
I'm sure you see it in the canyon. I know I see it on our fisheries. Like when it comes time to re-rig, you literally see like the slump of the shoulders, and then the angler turns back to the shore to sit down and begin their 10 minutes of re-rigging.
Their 10 minutes of purgatory.
Totally, you're in the penalty box, I say.
Oh, that was a nice strike, dude.
And so I feel like just getting good at that stuff so you can do it on the spot, you know, make the changes you want to make versus, you know, waiting around, fishing the fly, forcing it. I mean, you said it earlier, you and I were changing flies, I don't know how quickly. 5 minutes, no action, like, all right, I gotta make a change.
Yeah, you've got to be able to make those little adjustments, especially for weight and balance too. So here's I have a question for you. Doing what you're doing now is actually one of the tough.
Oh, that was supposed to be a fish.
That's one of the tougher drifts to make, is that straight upstream drift.
My favorite one.
Really?
Favorite one.
I have such a hard time with that. Like, you just make sure to suck that line back and lift that rod quick.
You can see it happening. It's a hands together and then they come apart. So you're pulling this line in while lifting the rod tips, right? Because you can't set the hook with your line down like this. And if you're not controlling your slack, you'll never feel the bite. But typically when you get a strike straight upstream, the fish straight up with you. It's the coolest eat ever. That's why those are
and you're meeting that fish head on.
You're meeting it head on. The other thing I love about this presentation style, straight up, is that it is probably the easiest way to get a dead drift. When you were hooking more fish than me and I was at the top of the run, one of the adjustments I tried my best to make was to go more up versus more across. The natural tendency when you fish across is that the flies will swing on you, right? So they'll naturally kind of swing in, right? Because we can't keep our arm straight out into the current, so they'll kind of swing in as they get down below us. When you fish straight up, you are in the exact lane of current. You can get a much, much deader presentation when fish are requiring the deadest of dead drifts than you can at that 45 or 90 degree angle, right? Just the nature of the pendulum of our rods.
I think you have good discipline on understanding it's going to be a short drift.
Yeah, no. You're not trying to go send this thing 100 feet. You're trying to just keep it in the lane. The French call it the French roll, right? Because they're just rolling their casts one after another, short drifts without.
So it's like high frequency of casts.
Correct. PPM, presentations per minute.
That's a competition bullshit. I love it.
Nerd of the nerd. Watch out.
Some thoughts on fly. Here, let me see your box real quick.
All right.
Thoughts on fly selection.
Thoughts on fly selection. This is where it's fun fishing with another angler, right? I had my own thoughts. I haven't put a fly in this river in many, many years of what would work. And I love that at the car, you were just like, well, put on whatever you would start with. I love silver beads. You can see a lot of them in my box. They're flashy. I feel like it looks like a gas, blah, 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 blah. You started catching them on a copper bead. And as soon as I switched over to a copper bead, I started catching fish. So a lot of the European, especially the grayling fisheries, they literally say what color bead before they say what pattern. They really, really care about bead color. In the States, I feel like we care a little bit less about bead color, but I think it really matters. So My new selection thought process is going to be copper. This is a little smaller version of what we were getting them on, just a simple pheasant tail copper bead. But now I'm going to try an all copper version here, just to kind of like tease that color out a little bit and see if we get some bites on that.
Oh man, a little hitch in the cider there, huh?
Yeah, you saw that baby jump.
Yeah. So on, like, let's just say an average outing for trout. This is a common, oh, you got one right there, dude. You just picked it up right at the end.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's rock.
A little muck on my copper.
Uh-oh. What percentage, this is a common question I get, and I'd love to hear your answer. What percentage of the strikes do you see on the cider versus feel and direct connection?
That's a great question, and like anything in fly fishing, it depends, is the real answer. Today, I am seeing almost everything and feeling very little. I'm feeling if I miss them, but I'm watching that cider because I'm fishing flies that are in the drift, right? So stuff that's just floating down the river naturally.
So you're fishing not necessarily on the bottom, you're fishing at pretty light contact.
Correct, and that way, the only way to detect it is to see it. And so to do that better, when we changed up from that last spot, I shortened up significantly. I took about 1.5 feet off of my overall length of tippet so I could feel it better in the drift because we're not fishing crazy deep. And then that is gonna just allow me to see that bite a heck of a lot better. And anytime I see that, you know, indicator material jump, I set the hook. Or sometimes I'll give it a check. But you can see once it starts to get deeper, everything gets straight. And when it gets straight, a lot of times you're gonna feel it more than if you're fishing the bow of that. And that the bow is gonna give you a little bit better drag-free drift, in my opinion, than fishing it tight. When we fish jig streamers, really heavy flies, all we get is tight, which means we feel the bite a lot more. Then when we fish lighter stuff, it's in the drift, where you really do have to see the bite more than feel the bite.
So yeah, if you're fishing mid-column, slack line, it's going to be largely visual. If you're fishing heavier flies with a lot of contact, a lot more feel.
Yeah, and if you're animating the flies right, so when we fish the jig streamers, right, we like to add some motion to that fly, really make it come alive. When we're doing that, you're gonna feel it, and it's awesome. And that's one of the most fun things to do. I always tell people I think Euro nymphing kind of combines the catch rate of regular nymphing, but you kind of get the feel of the take like you do with streamer fishing. And jig streamers really kind of being the pinnacle of those two coming together.
All right, one for the road. Russ has to get on a plane back to Denver in a couple hours. Nice one, Russ.
How do you not love catching another one on the yak?
Hey, thanks for coming along. Want to add a couple of things. Whoa, standing out here pretty deep, about to go for a swim. That'd make for pretty good video. Yeah, I got to fish for about 2 hours today with my old buddy Russ. I did go for a swim. Oh, I did went down. My boots are so worn out, dude. You'd think I'd have decent boots. I know, I need to buy some new boots. Dude, my phone stayed dry. I was joking about how funny that'd be if I fell in. Oh my God. I'm out here waiting in really deep, slick rock. Russ is smart. He has studded boots. Anyway, haven't fished with Russ forever. Really great having him here today. He's got to get on a plane a little bit. We fished for about 2 hours. Oh, got about a dozen fish or so. Literally fishing right in front of the most popular access on the Yakima River, and just able to go out and fish. And we're not doing anything crazy or anything technical. It's just a matter of having patience and building your skill set for some tight line nymphing. You should be able to walk out, I mean, anytime right near popular access, as long as there's a few trout there, and fool them. This content is made really for the avid do-it-yourself angler. We want you to catch a few trout. We want you to have a great time. And we got a dozen fish. Now we got more than that. We got over a dozen fish between us. in a very short period of time, and it's honestly a very mediocre bite today in the middle of the day, and we're able to do that. So anyway, yeah, thanks for following along, and then check out the Men podcast. Bye, Russ. I'm following him. Check out the Men podcast. I'm going to have Russ on, and I'm going to ask him a ton of really good questions. He's a wealth of very practical knowledge for all you avid weekend warriors out there. We want to see you catch. We want to see you be successful and have a fun time out there.